everybody! Julia here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my childhood toy. A little bit about this toy is that it's not really a toy. It's something I've had pretty much all my life, ever since I was born. It was given to me by my parents when I first came home with them. This item I've carried around me for a very long time, and I still have it till this day, although I don't really use it as often, but I still have it around me. And my childhood toy or item this is my baby blanket. It's pink, it's soft, and it has this like nice, smoothish, I don't know how you describe this, it's like this like slidey texture. I'm not sure, but I've carried this blanket around me so much that it looks like this. It's been abused and carried by me for a long time. I think I've stopped carrying this blanket around sometime in elementary school. Maybe a little bit before like 4th grade or so. I don't like pink now, but at that time, pink was my favorite color because of this blanket. And so whenever I saw anything pink, I was like, cool, this reminds me of my blanket. I want to get that color in pink. Ice cream too. It's like, oh, I want the pink ice cream. Even though I knew that it was like strawberry and I didn't really like strawberry very much as the ice cream flavor. I've actually enjoyed chocolate, but I still went with pink because pink was my favorite color. But besides that though, I literally carry this around me every single day. So what I'll do is that I'll just grab it by one end and then I'll just like drag it with me. So when I'm walking, I'm like this, and you just kind of see the remains just like dragging along the side. And so it's been like beaten up to the point where my mom actually had to sew parts of my blanket back together. For example, right here, my mom actually sewed this part together because it ripped like this and like this. And I think by this time when this hole was created, my mom just pretty much gave up. But I've carried it everywhere. I know that there's a time where I carried it to the dentist's office, and the dentist wanted me to let go of the blanket, but I was like, no, it's my blanket. Like, I carry it around with me everywhere. Till this day, they still tell me, it's like, yeah, I remember when you were so little, you would always have your pink blanket around and you'll never let it go. And there's a time where you like cried and you peed in your pants, but you still carried the blanket around you. I mean, I don't know. I must have loved this blanket to death. Just to have this many holes. I think the last time I've ever used this blanket was again probably sometime in elementary school, maybe around 4th or 5th grade. But I do remember it was so beat up to the point where my mom was so tired of fixing it that she was like, you know what? It's time to put this blanket away. And I was like, no, why would you do something like that? It's my blankie. It's pretty beaten, and my mom was like, you know what, like I can get you another blanket. Like, this is not a big deal, you know, you shouldn't be carrying around this anymore. You know, you're a little bit more grown up now. And she just took it away and she kind of stored it. You know, now that I think about it, I don't think this blanket was washed very often because I like to keep it with me 24/7. If anything, my mom would have to pry it out of my hands just to wash it. But if my mom was on top of her game, I think this was probably washed like at least once a week. But I'm thinking maybe once every 2 weeks, considering how much I dragged it and how much I abused it. So besides dragging this blanket around everywhere with me, usually sometimes I'll just have it with me like this and I'll just like kind of lay down with it, or just like have it off to like the shoulder, or sometimes it'll just be like a part of my body where I'm like this, playing around with it. And then sometimes I'll like to make the holes bigger. So if I saw this, I'll be like, what's going on here? And then I'll like pull on it. I'm like, uh-oh, that's not supposed to happen. Thinking back into my childhood and trying to think back at all the toys that I played with, none of the toys were as memorable as this blanket because I never played with anything consistently than this thing. Than this particular blanket. Because I mean, I have played with like some Legos, some blocks, some clay, some Play-Doh. The one thing that stood out prominently to me in my childhood is this blanket. It's something so simple And it has a lot of sentimental value because one, it's my baby blanket. It's a blanket that's been with me all my life. And two, like it was something that I've genuinely liked as a kid, that like I couldn't part with, that I had to bring it with me wherever I go. I mean, subconsciously it was definitely a safety blanket of mine, and I couldn't have any more fun with this than all my other toys. For this being my safety blanket, whenever I went to places that I didn't like, for example the dentist, I had to have it with me the entire time because this was a piece of me that I felt safe with, and it made me feel comfortable, made me feel calm and relaxed, and it was just something that I can hold on to without it complaining. So currently I don't use it just because it's really old and it has a lot of holes, and I know my mom would say that I'm an embarrassment to the public if I have this with me all the time. So I've actually folded it up and I put it away in this bag actually, and I zip it up and I store it in the cabinet in my room just so I know exactly where it's at. And sometimes I would open it and I'll be like, yeah, these were good times. I can't believe I dragged this around everywhere with me. You know, as I look at this blanket and how badly beaten up this is, I don't think I'll ever fix it. Mainly because this was the state that it was last left at and last touched at, and I'd rather keep it this memorable because I feel like it just has a lot of character, because it proves and it shows like how much I love this thing, that like I would continue to use it even though it was like still ripped and still broken and like all tattered, and like look at how many holes that it has. Yeah, if I were to fix it, I feel like it would lose majority of its charm. In the future, if I were to have kids, I don't think I'll give them this blanket in particular, just because this hole, I wouldn't want them to like choke or anything. But I think for my kids, I would prefer to get them a new blanket so that they can do the same thing as I did, where they can just use it and abuse it and just take it everywhere with them and have a very fond attachment to it. And for this one, I think this one would forever remain as my blanket and only me. Yeah guys, so this is pretty much my childhood toy, aka my childhood item blanket. If you guys still have your childhood blanket, please leave down in the comments below and tell me what kind of blanket you guys have, and tell me if your blanket is any worse than mine, because this is actually pretty impressive. I don't even know how I was able to do it, but it happened. If you guys liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And to watch more childhood toys, click over here.
As a kid, I didn't know this stuff, but it taught me a lot and it gave me a little bit of street smarts. I remember the biggest lesson that I learned playing Pogs was, so these slammers like this is what is a lot of people's prized possession. Everyone has their